be me. 24-year-old guy working as a software engineer in a city that feels too big and too empty at the same time. Still thinking about Sarah even though it's been 2 years since she told me she needed space and then proceeded to fill that space with literally anyone who wasn't me. We met in college during sophomore year when she sat next to me in an algorithms class and asked to borrow a pencil, which turned into borrowing notes, which turned into study sessions, which turned into the most intense friendship I've ever had that never quite became what I wanted it to be. She had this way of laughing at my stupid jokes that made me feel like the funniest person alive, and these brown eyes that seemed to see through all my defenses straight into the parts of myself I tried to hide from everyone. We spent almost every day together for 3 years doing homework in coffee shops, watching movies in her dorm room, having deep conversations at 3 a.m. about philosophy and existence and what we wanted from life. I was completely in love with her in that desperate, pathetic way where you convince yourself that if you just stay close enough and prove yourself worthy enough, eventually she'll realize you're the one she's been looking for all along. Told her how I felt during senior year after months of building up courage, thinking that our connection was so obvious and strong that she must feel the same way. She looked at me with this expression that I can still see perfectly when I close my eyes, like sadness mixed with pity, mixed with something else I couldn't quite identify, and said, "I love you, but not in that way. I'm sorry. I thought you knew we were just friends." Those words shattered something fundamental inside me, but I pretended to be cool about it, saying, "Oh yeah, totally, I just wanted to make sure we were on the same page, no big deal." It was a very big deal. We tried to stay friends after that, but everything felt different and wrong, like trying to go back to how things were before, but the innocence was gone, replaced by this awkward tension. She started dating this guy named Brett 2 months later, who was everything. I wasn't tall and athletic and conventionally attractive, with the kind of easy confidence that came from never being rejected by anyone. Watching them together was torture, but I couldn't look away because some masochistic part of me needed to see what she wanted and confirm that it definitely wasn't me. After graduation, she moved to Seattle for a tech job, and I moved here, and we texted occasionally with decreasing frequency until the conversation just stopped naturally, like a plant that dies from neglect. That was 2 years ago, and I still think about her every single day, wondering if she ever thinks about me or if I was just a chapter in her life she closed and moved on from. Completely. My therapist, Dr. Morrison, keeps telling me that I need to stop idealizing Sarah and recognize that the relationship I'm mourning never actually existed outside my own head. "You're in love with a fantasy version of who she was, not the real person," he says during our Tuesday sessions, while I sit on his uncomfortable couch avoiding eye contact. I know he's right intellectually, but emotionally I can't seem to let go of the hope that maybe someday she'll realize she made a mistake and come back to me. My roommate Kyle thinks I need to start dating other people to get over Sarah, telling me the best way to get over someone is to get under someone else. His advice is crude but potentially valid, so I download dating apps and start swiping through an endless parade of faces and bios that all blur together. Match with a girl named Rebecca who has red hair and works as a graphic designer and seems funny based on her profile. We message back and forth for a few days, and she suggests meeting for drinks at this bar downtown that's supposedly known for creative cocktails. Show up 15 minutes early because I'm neurotic about being late, and order a beer while I wait scanning the entrance for someone who looks like her photos. Rebecca arrives right on time wearing a green dress and smiling in a way that's friendly but slightly nervous, which makes me feel less anxious about my own nervousness. "Hey, you must be Anon." "I'm Rebecca, nice to finally meet in person," she says, extending her hand for a handshake, which feels oddly formal for a date, but I go with it. We sit at a corner table and order drinks and start with the usual first date small talk about jobs and hobbies and how we ended up in this city. She tells me about her work designing marketing materials for various companies and how she's been trying to build a freelance business on the side to have more creative freedom. I tell her about my software engineering job and leave out the part where I spend most of my time staring at my computer screen, thinking about a girl who doesn't want me instead of actually writing code. Conversation flows easier than expected, and she laughs at my jokes in a way that should make me happy, but instead makes me think about how Sarah used to laugh with her whole body, leaning forward like she couldn't contain the joy. Rebecca's laugh is nice, but different, more controlled and polite, and I hate myself for comparing them, but I can't stop my brain from making these mental notes. She asks what kind of movies I like, and I mention this obscure indie film that Sarah and I watched together 4 times because she said it reminded her of us. Oh, I love that movie. The cinematography is incredible, Rebecca says, getting excited, and I feel a painful twist in my chest, because this should be a good thing having something in common, but it just reminds me of Sarah. We order another round of drinks and talk about traveling and books and music, and she mentions her favorite band, which happens to be one that Sarah introduced me to. Everything about Rebecca is perfectly fine. Actually, better than fine. She's smart and attractive and seems genuinely interested in getting to know me, but all I can think about is how she's not Sarah. The date ends after 2 hours and she suggests we do this again sometime, and I agree, even though I know it's not fair to her to go on a second date when I'm clearly not emotionally available. We hug goodbye and she smells like vanilla and something floral, and it's pleasant but wrong because Sarah smelled like coffee and old books. Walk home through the city streets feeling worse than I did before the date, because now I've confirmed that I'm not ready to move on despite desperately wanting to be ready. Kyle asks how it went when I get back to our apartment, and I tell him it was fine, which is the most damning review possible for a first date. Just fine like you'll see her again, or fine like you spent the whole time thinking about Sarah? He asks, knowing me too well. I don't answer because we both already know. A couple weeks later, I match with another girl named Melissa, who's a teacher and loves hiking and has a dog that appears in half her photos. We go on a date to a coffee shop, which in retrospect is a terrible choice because coffee shops are inextricably linked to Sarah in my mind. Melissa orders a latte with oat milk and tells me about her third grade class and the funny things her students say, and she's genuinely lovely and warm. But when she smiles, her eyes crinkle at the corners the same way Sarah's did, and I have to look away because the resemblance physically hurts. She talks about a book she's reading and asks if I've read it, and I have because Sarah recommended it to me junior year, saying it changed her perspective on love. Yeah, I read that a while ago. It's pretty good, I say neutrally, not wanting to explain the Sarah-shaped context around every cultural reference I have. Melissa suggests we walk her dog in the nearby park, and I agree because maybe being outside will help me focus on the present instead of the past. Her dog is a golden retriever named Buddy, who's excitable and friendly, jumping on me and trying to lick my face. Sarah always wanted a golden retriever, and we used to talk about the hypothetical dog we'd get together someday when we had our lives figured out and lived in a house with a yard. That future never happened and never will happen, but my brain still holds on to it like a promise that was broken. Melissa and I walk through the park, making pleasant conversation about nothing important, and I'm going through the motions of being present, but I'm not really there. She mentioned she broke up with her ex-boyfriend 6 months ago and is finally ready to start dating again, and I should probably mention that I'm not over my ex situation, but I don't. We sit on a bench and watch Buddy chase squirrels, and she moves slightly closer to me, and I know she's interested, but I feel nothing except guilt. This has been really nice. I'm glad we matched, she says, looking at me with hopeful eyes. Yeah, me too. I lie because I'm a coward who can't be honest about my emotional unavailability. We exchange numbers and hug goodbye, and I never text her again because what's the point of pretending? My friend from work, David, notices I've been distracted during meetings and pulls me aside asking if everything's okay. End up telling him the whole pathetic story about Sarah and how I can't seem to move on no matter how much time passes or how many other people I try to date. David listens without judgment and then says, "Man, I've been there. It took me 3 years to get over my ex, and what finally helped was realizing I was addicted to the pain in a weird way." His words hit different because maybe he's right. Maybe part of me doesn't want to move on because this longing and sadness has become comfortable and familiar. You're using Sarah as an excuse not to be vulnerable with anyone new, because if you're still hung up on her, you can't get hurt by someone else. David continues, and I want to argue, but can't. Spend the next few weeks thinking about what he said and trying to figure out if I'm actually in love with Sarah or just in love with not having to risk my heart on something real. Decide to take a break from dating apps and focus on therapy and self-improvement, whatever that means. Dr. Morrison seems pleased with this decision, saying you can't pour from an empty cup. You need to work on yourself before you can show up fully for someone else. Start going to the gym regularly and picking up hobbies I abandoned and trying to build a life that isn't centered around the absence of one person. It helps a little bit, but doesn't change the fundamental problem, which is that late at night, when I'm alone with my thoughts, Sarah is still the only person I want. 3 months pass and I'm doing better on paper, going out with friends, exercising, eating well, sleeping okay. But the Sarah-shaped hole hasn't gotten smaller, just more familiar. Then one random Thursday, I'm getting coffee before work and see someone across the shop who looks exactly like Sarah from behind, same hair, same posture, same everything. My heart stops and I freeze in place, unable to move or breathe or think. And for a moment, I'm convinced it's actually her, and I don't know if I want her to turn around or not. The woman turns, and it's not Sarah, just someone who looks similar, and the disappointment crashes over me like a wave. Hands are shaking so badly I can barely hold my coffee, and I have to sit down and do breathing exercises to calm my panic attack. Realize this is not normal or healthy, and that I need to do something drastic to break this cycle before it completely destroys me. Dr. Morrison suggests maybe trying to reach out to Sarah and get closure instead of living with this unresolved fantasy. The idea terrifies me but also feels necessary, like lancing a wound that's been infected for too long. Spend 2 weeks drafting and redrafting a message, trying to find the right words to explain how I'm feeling without sounding desperate or pathetic. Finally settle on something. Anon, simple and honest. Saying, hey, I know it's been a while and I hope you're doing well. I've been thinking about our friendship and how things ended, and I was wondering if you'd be open to talking sometime. I think I need closure. Send it before I can overthink and immediately regret it, checking my phone every 30 seconds for a response. 3 days pass with no reply, and I assume she's ghosting me, which is answer enough. Then on day 4, my phone buzzes with a message from Sarah, and seeing her name on my screen after all this time makes my stomach drop. Hey, stranger, good to hear from you. I've thought about reaching out, but wasn't sure if you'd want to hear from me. I'm actually going to be in your city next month for a work conference. Maybe we could grab coffee? She wants to see me, and I should feel excited, but instead, I feel terrified because what if seeing her confirms that I'll never be over her, or worse, what if seeing her proves that I built her up into something she never was? Agree to meet her and spend the next month in a state of constant anxiety, alternating between excitement and dread. Kyle thinks I'm making a mistake, saying this is just going to reopen old wounds. Why would you do this to yourself? Can't explain it rationally, but something in me needs this. Needs to see her and talk to her and maybe finally understand what happened between us. The day arrives and I change my outfit 4 times before settling on jeans and a casual button-up, trying to look like I put in effort, but not too much effort. We agreed to meet at a coffee shop neutral territory at 2 p.m. on a Saturday afternoon. I arrived 20 minutes early because I'm incapable of being on time for important things, and order a black coffee sitting at a table with a view of the entrance. Watch people come and go, checking each face against my memories of Sarah, wondering if I'll even recognize her or if she's changed completely. Then at exactly 2 p.m. she walks in, and my breath catches because she looks exactly the same but also different, somehow more polished and professional, but with the same basic features that have lived in my memory. She spots me and waves, walking over with a smile that seems genuine, if cautious. Hey, it's so good to see you, she says, and we hug awkwardly, like people who used to be close but don't know the rules anymore. She orders a cappuccino and sits across from me, and for a moment we just look at each other, trying to bridge 2 years of silence. You look good? You cut your hair, I say, because I can't think of anything else and need to fill the silence with something. Thanks, yeah, I needed a change after everything. You look good. Too settled into the city life, I see, she responds, and her voice sounds exactly how I remembered. We make small talk about our jobs and the weather and mutual friends from college, catching up on surface-level information while dancing around everything that actually matters. She tells me about Seattle and her job at a tech startup and her apartment that has a view of the water. I tell her about my work and my apartment with Kyle and leave out the part about how I've spent 2 years unable to move on from her. Eventually she asks, so how have you really been? I know you said you wanted closure, and I guess I'm wondering what that means. This is the moment to be honest and vulnerable and say all the things I've been holding on to for years. Honestly, I've been struggling. I never really got over what happened between us, and I've been stuck in this loop of comparing everyone I meet to you and finding them lacking, I say, and the words spill out faster than I can control them. She looks down at her coffee cup, and I can see emotions playing across her face. Guilt, sadness, something else. I'm sorry I never wanted to hurt you. I thought being honest about my feelings was better than leading you on. But maybe I should have handled it differently, she says quietly. No, you did the right thing telling me the truth. It's not your fault. I couldn't accept it and move on, I respond, because I don't want her to feel guilty for not returning my feelings. We sit in heavy silence for a moment before she says, can I be honest with you about something I've never told anyone? My heart races, wondering what revelation could possibly be coming. After you told me how you felt, I was confused because part of me wondered if maybe I did have feelings for you, but I was scared because you were my best friend, and I didn't want to risk losing that friendship if a relationship didn't work out, she admits, and my entire world tilts. She had feelings for me, or thought she might have had feelings for me, and never said anything. So why did you date Brett? Why did you choose him over even trying with me? I ask, and I can hear the pain in my own voice. Because Brett was safe. He was someone I didn't care about deeply enough to be scared of losing, and I know that's messed up. But I was 21 and terrified of real intimacy, she explains. She's telling me that I mattered too much, that our friendship was too important to risk, and somehow that makes it worse, not better. We could have been something, I say, and it's not a question, just a statement of fact about a future that never happened. Maybe we would have destroyed each other and lost the friendship too. I don't know, she says with tears forming in her eyes. Seeing her cry breaks something in me, and I reach across the table to hold her hand without thinking. I'm sorry I'm dropping all this on you. I've been carrying it around for years, and seeing you just brought it all back up, she continues, wiping her eyes. We sit there holding hands across a coffee shop table. Two people who loved each other in different ways at different times and missed each other completely. Are you seeing anyone now? I ask, because I need to know if there's any possibility, or if this is truly just about finding closure. I've been dating someone for about 6 months back in Seattle. It's getting pretty serious, actually, she says. And those words hit me like a physical blow. Of course she has a boyfriend. Of course she's moved on and built a life without me while I've been stuck in suspended animation. That's great. I'm happy for you. I lie again, because what else can I say? We talk for another hour about lighter topics, trying to recapture some of the easy friendship we used to have, but it feels forced and sad. She has to leave for a dinner with her conference colleagues, and we hug goodbye for probably the last time. Take care of yourself, okay? Try to let yourself be happy, she says, looking at me with those brown eyes full of concern and affection that will never be what I want it to be. You too, thanks for meeting me, I say, and watch her walk out of the coffee shop and out of my life again. Sit there for a long time after she leaves, staring at my cold coffee and trying to process everything that just happened. The closure I wanted doesn't feel like closure at all, just new information that makes the past more complicated and the future more uncertain. She almost loved me but didn't love me enough to try, and now she loves someone else, and I'm still here stuck in the same place. Walk home in a daze, and Kyle takes one look at me and says, "That bad, huh?" Tell him everything she said about having confused feelings and being scared and dating Brett because he was safe. So she basically admitted she had feelings but chose not to pursue them because she's emotionally unavailable. That's rough, man, Kyle summarizes. Yeah, that about covers it. Spend the next week in a fog, going through the motions of work and life, but feeling disconnected from everything. Dr. Morrison says the meeting with Sarah was probably necessary, even if it didn't provide the clean resolution I wanted. Sometimes closure isn't about getting answers, it's about accepting that some questions don't have satisfying answers, he says, in that therapist way. I'm so tired of being sad about this. I'm exhausted from carrying this weight, and I don't know how to put it down. My coworker David checks in on me, noticing I'm even more distracted than usual. Tell him about meeting Sarah and what she revealed about her feelings. That's the worst kind of almost having someone confirm they could have loved you, but chose not to try, he says, shaking his head. Decide I need to make a drastic change, something to force myself out of this pattern. Apply for a transfer to our company's office in Austin, thinking maybe a new city with no memories of Sarah, or this life will help me start fresh. Get approved within 2 weeks, and suddenly I'm planning a cross-country move in a month. Kyle is sad to lose a roommate, but supportive, saying maybe this is what you need, new place, new people, new start. Spend the next few weeks packing up my life and saying goodbye to friends and preparing for this big leap into the unknown. Part of me hopes Sarah will reach out when she finds out I'm moving, but she doesn't, and that tells me everything I need to know. The night before I leave, Kyle throws me a small going-away party with our close friends, and everyone is drinking and being nostalgic about good times. David pulls me aside and says, I know you're running from something, but make sure you're also running towards something. Austin won't fix you if you don't do the work. I know he's right, but I have to try something because staying here in the city with these memories is slowly killing me. Drive to Austin alone with all my stuff packed in my car and Kyle's playlist of road trip songs keeping me company. It's supposed to be symbolic, a journey toward a new life, but mostly it just feels lonely. Arrive in Austin and move into a small apartment that smells like fresh paint and emptiness. First few weeks are busy with starting the new job and exploring the city and trying to meet people and build some kind of social life. Everything is fine. Austin is nice, the people are friendly, the food is good, the music scene is vibrant, but I still feel hollow inside. Because the problem isn't the location, it's me. I brought my emotional baggage with me, and it doesn't matter that I'm in a different city. Sarah is still in my head and my heart, and no amount of physical distance changes that fundamental reality. Match with a girl on a dating app named Amanda, who has blonde hair and blue eyes, the complete opposite of Sarah, which feels intentional. We go out a few times, and she's sweet and uncomplicated and clearly interested in building something real. I try my best to be present and engaged and give this a real chance because she deserves someone who's actually available. But during our fourth date, we're at dinner, and she's telling me about her family, and I realize I haven't retained a single thing she said because I'm thinking about Sarah. Amanda notices my distraction and asks, "Are you okay? You seem really far away tonight?" This is my chance to be honest for once, instead of stringing someone along while I'm emotionally unavailable. "I'm sorry, Amanda, you're amazing, and I wish I could be what you deserve, but I'm not over my ex, and it's not fair to you for me to keep pretending I am," I say, finally being truthful. She looks hurt, but not surprised, saying, "I kind of figured there was someone else. I could tell your heart wasn't in it. Thanks for being honest, I guess." We part ways, and I feel relieved to not be lying anymore, but also more alone than ever. A few months pass in Austin, and I settle into a routine of work gym therapy, repeat nothing exciting or meaningful, just existence. Make some casual friends at work and go out occasionally, but keep everyone at arm's length, because getting close to people requires vulnerability I don't have. One night I'm scrolling social media, which I know I shouldn't do, and see that Sarah posted photos from a vacation in Hawaii with her boyfriend. They look happy and in love, and the boyfriend is objectively good-looking and successful based on his profile that I definitely don't stalk for an hour. She's living the life she chose without me, and she looks genuinely happy, which should make me happy for her, but instead just makes me feel left behind. Have a breakdown alone in my apartment, crying for the first time in months because I'm 25 years old and still completely hung up on someone who will never want me. Call Kyle at 2 a.m. because I don't know who else to call, and he answers sounding concerned. "I can't do this anymore, man. I've tried everything, moving cities, therapy, dating other people. Nothing works. I'm still stuck," I say through tears. Kyle listens and then says something that cuts through the noise. "Have you considered that maybe you need to grieve this like a real loss instead of trying to move on from it?" His words hit me because I've been treating this like a problem to solve instead of a loss to mourn. You lost your best friend and the future you imagined with her. That's worth grieving instead of just trying to logic your way past it, he continues. We talk for an hour, and by the end I feel slightly less alone, even though nothing has actually changed. Start approaching my feelings about Sarah differently in therapy, not as something to get over, but as something to grieve and integrate. Dr. Morrison introduces me to the concept that you can hold grief and still build a life, that grief doesn't have to be resolved to be manageable. It's a subtle shift, but it helps knowing that maybe I'll always love Sarah in some way, and that doesn't mean I'm broken. It just means I'm human. Start writing letters to Sarah that I'll never send, just to process my feelings and say all the things I wish I could have said. "Dear Sarah, I hate that I still love you. I hate that you're happy with someone else. I hate that we missed our timing. I hate that I can't hate you. Dear Sarah, I saw a dog today that looked like the golden retriever you always wanted, and I thought about the future we used to plan that will never happen. Dear Sarah, sometimes I wonder if you think about me, or if I'm just a footnote in your life story, someone you used to know who meant something once but not anymore. Dear Sarah, I'm trying to move on. I promise I'm trying, but you set a standard that no one else can meet, and I don't know how to lower my expectations. Writing helps me feel less crazy, like I'm exorcising these thoughts instead of letting them circle endlessly in my head. 6 months in Austin, and I'm not better exactly, but I'm functioning, learning to live with the grief instead of being paralyzed by it. Meet a girl at a coffee shop named Zoe who strikes up a conversation about the book I'm reading. We exchange numbers and start texting casually, and I'm not expecting anything, but she's easy to talk to. She invites me to a concert for a band I've never heard of, and I almost say no, but force myself to say yes because I need to keep trying. The concert is loud and crowded, and I spend the first hour feeling out of place, but then Zoe grabs my hand during a song and smiles at me, and something shifts. For the first time in years, I'm having a moment that isn't filtered through the words of Sarah, just a genuine connection with someone new. We go for late night tacos after and talk about everything music and travel and childhood memories, and our conversation flows naturally without forcing it. She tells me about her divorce from her high school sweetheart and how it destroyed her for years until she finally learned to let go. You never really get over losing someone you loved, you just learn to live with it, and eventually it becomes part of your story instead of your whole story, she says. Her words resonate because she understands grief in a way that most people don't. We start seeing each other regularly, and I'm careful not to move too fast or project feelings that aren't there yet. Zoe is patient and perceptive, noticing when I'm in my head, but not pushing me to explain until I'm ready. One night, a few months into dating, she asks, "Who is she, the one you're still hung up on?" I could lie, but I'm tired of lying, so I tell her about Sarah, the whole story from beginning to end. Zoe listens without judgment, and when I finish, she says, "I get it. I have someone like that too, someone who changed me so fundamentally that I'll never be the same." "Does it ever stop hurting?" I ask. "Not completely, but it hurts less. And the good days start to outnumber the bad days, and eventually you realize you're actually living your life instead of just surviving it," she responds. For the first time, I feel understood by someone who isn't my therapist or my best friend. Things with Zoe progress slowly but steadily, and I start to believe that maybe I can build something real with someone, even if part of my heart still belongs to Sarah. We move in together after a year and adopt a dog together, a golden retriever that Zoe names Atlas. It's bittersweet because this was supposed to be my life with Sarah, but it's also good because Zoe is here and real and choosing me every day. Still think about Sarah sometimes, especially on hard days, or when I hear certain songs, but it's different now. Less consuming, more wistful. My relationship with Zoe isn't perfect. We fight and have issues like any couple, but it's built on honesty and mutual effort instead of unspoken longing. 2 years in Austin, and I'm actually okay, not happy exactly, but okay, which feels like a massive achievement compared to where I was. Then one random Tuesday, I get a message from Sarah on social media. My heart still jumps seeing her name, which I hate but can't control. "Hey, I heard through mutual friends that you moved to Austin, and I wanted to reach out. I'm sorry for how things ended between us. I think about our friendship a lot and miss it. Hope you're doing well." Stare at the message for a long time, trying to decide if I should respond or leave it unanswered. Zoe notices I'm distracted and asks what's wrong, and I show her the message. "Do you want to respond to her?" she asks without jealousy, just genuine curiosity. I don't know, part of me wants closure or reconciliation or something, but another part of me knows that talking to her will just mess me up again, I admit. Zoe thinks for a moment and says, "Maybe you should respond not to reopen anything, but to close that chapter properly on your own terms." I decide she's right and craft a response that's friendly but boundaried. "Hey, thanks for reaching out. I'm doing well in Austin. Hope you're doing well too. I think we both needed space to grow, and I'm grateful for the friendship we had, even though it ended messily. Take care." Send it and immediately close the app, not wanting to see if she responds. She does respond saying, "I'm glad you're doing well. I'm getting married in the spring. I wanted you to know I'm happy." She's getting married, and she wanted me to know, which feels like both a peace offering and a final nail in the coffin of any lingering what-ifs. "Congratulations. That's really great news. Wishing you all the best." I respond and mean it as much as I can. Show Zoe the exchange, and she hugs me asking, "How are you feeling about that?" Sad, but also relieved, like maybe this is actually the end of the story and I can finally close the book, I answer honestly. That night I sleep better than I have in months, like some unconscious part of me needed this final confirmation that Sarah has moved on completely. A few more months pass and I propose to Zoe, not because I'm over Sarah, but because I've learned that love isn't about finding a replacement. It's about choosing to build something new. She says yes, and we start planning a small wedding for the following year. I'm genuinely excited about marrying Zoe, about building a life with someone who sees me clearly and chooses me anyway. But there's still a part of me that wonders, what if Sarah had chosen differently? What if the timing had been right? What if we had tried? Dr. Morrison tells me it's normal to have those thoughts, that the human brain loves to create alternate timelines and wonder about paths not taken. The key is not letting those thoughts control your present reality. You can acknowledge them and still choose your current life, he says. Wedding planning is stressful, but good. Joey and I work well together, compromising and supporting each other through the chaos. My parents love her, and Kyle is going to be my best man, and everything is falling into place in a way that feels adult and real. 3 months before the wedding, I'm at the grocery store buying ingredients for dinner when I see someone who looks exactly like Sarah. My immediate reaction is still that heart-stopping moment of panic and hope, even after all this time and growth. But this time when the woman turns around and it's not Sarah, I feel relieved instead of disappointed. Realize this is progress, that my first instinct isn't longing anymore. Just recognition of a pattern my brain has developed. Wedding day arrives and I'm nervous, but ready, standing at the altar, watching Zoe walk down the aisle looking beautiful and radiant. We exchange vows that we wrote ourselves, promising to be honest and patient and to choose each other every day, even when it's hard. During the reception, Kyle gives a speech about how far I've come from the mess I was 2 years ago. I wasn't sure Anon would ever let himself be happy, but Zoe broke through his walls, and I'm so grateful she didn't give up on him, he says, and everyone laughs and claps. Dancing with Zoe during our first dance as a married couple, I feel something I haven't felt in years, genuine contentment that isn't marred by constant comparison. Honeymoon in Costa Rica is incredible. We go ziplining and surfing and spend lazy days on the beach, just existing together without pressure or expectation. Come back to Austin and settle into married life, which is mostly the same as before, but with a deeper sense of commitment and partnership. 6 months into marriage, I'm driving home from work, listening to the radio, when a song comes on that Sarah used to love. Instead of changing the station, I let it play and allow myself to feel the bittersweet nostalgia without spiraling into depression. This is what healing looks like. I think not the absence of pain, but the ability to hold pain without being destroyed by it. Get home and Zoe is cooking dinner with Atlas at her feet, hoping for scraps. "How was your day?" she asks, kissing me hello. "It was good. I heard a song that reminded me of Sarah, but I was okay," I say, because we've built a relationship where I can be honest about this stuff. "I'm proud of you. That's huge progress," she responds without jealousy or insecurity, just supportive acknowledgement. We eat dinner and watch TV and go to bed early, and it's mundane and perfect. 2 years of marriage, and I rarely think about Sarah anymore, except in passing moments that don't derail my entire day. Zoe and I talk about having kids someday, buying a house, building a real life together. I'm not the same person I was when I met Sarah, or even when I left for Austin. I've been fundamentally changed by grief and healing. Then one day at work, I get an email from an unknown address with the subject line, "I'm sorry." Open it, and it's from Sarah. She's written a long message explaining that she's been in therapy, working through her fear of intimacy and commitment issues. "I've realized that I handled everything with you terribly. I was scared of how much I cared about you, and I pushed you away because vulnerability terrified me. I wonder sometimes what would have happened if I'd been braver, if I'd been willing to risk our friendship for the possibility of something more. I think about you often, and I hope you found happiness. I'm sorry for any pain I caused." The email continues for several more paragraphs, detailing her therapy journey and her regrets. She ends with, "I'm not expecting anything from you. I just needed you to know that you mattered, that what we had mattered, and that I'm sorry for not being brave enough to choose you when I had the chance." Sit at my desk staring at this email, feeling a complicated mix of emotions, vindication, anger, sadness, relief, all swirling together. This is what I wanted years ago. Her admission that she had feelings and made a mistake. But now that I have it, the satisfaction is hollow, because it doesn't change anything. She's married, I'm married. The past is fixed and unchangeable. Think about responding, but can't figure out what to say that would be honest without being cruel. Decide to show Zoe when I get home, because secrets in a marriage are poison, even well-intentioned ones. Drive home rehearsing how to explain this situation without making Zoe feel insecure or like she's a consolation prize. Walk in, and Zoe immediately senses something is wrong, asking, "What happened? You look shaken." Hand her my phone with the email pulled up and watch her face as she reads Sarah's confession and apology. When she finishes, she looks at me with an unreadable expression and asks, "How do you feel about this?" Honestly, I don't know. I thought I'd feel vindicated or validated. But mostly I just feel sad for everyone involved, for me, for her, for you, for having to deal with my baggage. I answer, sitting down heavily. Zoe sits next to me and takes my hand, saying, "Are you going to respond to her?" I want to, but I don't know what to say. Part of me wants to tell her that her apology is years too late, and part of me wants to thank her for the closure, I admit. "Maybe you should respond if you need to. I trust you and I know you love me. This doesn't threaten what we have," Zoe says with more grace than I probably deserve. Spend the evening drafting a response that goes through about 15 versions before I settle on something honest but kind. "Sarah, thank you for your honesty and your apology. I appreciate you taking the time to reach out and explain your side of things. I spent a long time angry and hurt about how things ended between us. But I've done a lot of healing and growth since then. I'm married now to an incredible woman who has taught me what real partnership looks like. And I'm genuinely happy. I hope you found peace and happiness too. I forgive you for the past, and I wish you all the best in your marriage and your life. Take care. Send it before I can overthink it anymore, and then close my laptop feeling exhausted. Zoe asks if I want to talk about it more, but I'm all talked out, so we just sit together on the couch with Atlas between us, watching mindless TV. That night I dream about Sarah for the first time in months, but it's different this time. In the dream, we're sitting in that coffee shop where we had our closure conversation, but instead of being sad, we're both laughing about something. I'm glad you're happy, Dream Sarah says, and I realize she means it without any hidden agenda or lingering feelings. I'm glad you're happy too, I respond, and in the dream, I actually mean it fully without reservation. Wake up feeling lighter, like something has shifted fundamentally in how I carry this history. Sarah responds to my email the next day with a brief message saying thank you for your kindness and forgiveness. I'm glad you found your person. Take care of yourself. That's the last communication we have, and somehow it feels right, like we've both said what we needed to say and can finally let each other go. Tell Dr. Morrison about the whole exchange during our next session, and he seems pleased with how I handled it. You've come a long way from the person who couldn't go on a single date without comparing everyone to Sarah. That's significant growth, he observes. I still think about her sometimes, but it's different now, like thinking about a character in a book I used to love instead of an active wound, I try to explain. He nods, understanding what I mean about the shift from active pain to distant memory. Life continues with work and marriage and planning for the future. Zoe and I start seriously discussing having kids. She wants to start trying soon, and I'm terrified, but also excited about the prospect of being a father. We spend months talking about parenting styles and values and what kind of life we want to build for our hypothetical children. Kyle calls one weekend to tell me he's getting married finally. After years of casual dating, he found someone who makes him want to commit. Guess we're all growing up, huh? Never thought I'd see the day, he jokes, but I can hear the genuine happiness in his voice. Fly back home for Kyle's wedding and see a bunch of old friends from college. Everyone's changed, gotten older, more settled. Someone mentions Sarah at the reception, saying she and her husband just had a baby girl and are living in Portland now. Feel a pang of something not quite jealousy, but something adjacent, maybe grief for the parallel life that never happened. But then Zoe squeezes my hand, and I remember that this is my life, the one I've built with intention and work, and it's good. A few months later, Zoe tells me she's pregnant, and I cry, actual tears of joy and terror. We're having a baby, and suddenly everything feels more real and permanent and important. Pregnancy is hard on Zoe, and I try my best to be supportive, going to appointments and reading parenting books and preparing the nursery. My mom is thrilled about becoming a grandmother and visits often, bringing baby clothes and unsolicited advice. 7 months into the pregnancy, I'm at work when I get a call from an unknown number. Usually I don't answer, but something makes me pick up this time. Hello, is this Anon? A woman's voice asks, and it takes me a second to recognize it as Sarah's voice. Yeah, this is Anon, Sarah, I respond, confused about why she'd be calling after months of silence. I'm sorry to call out of the blue. I know we agreed to move on, but I heard through mutual friends that you're having a baby, and I just wanted to congratulate you, she says, and her voice sounds strained. Oh, thanks. Yeah, we're excited, nervous, but excited, I respond awkwardly, not sure what the protocol is for this situation. There's a long pause before she says, I need to tell you something, and I don't know if I should, but I can't carry it anymore. My stomach drops because I know whatever she's about to say is going to complicate everything. When I told you I wasn't sure if I had feelings for you back in college, I was lying. I knew I loved you. I was completely in love with you, but I was terrified, she admits. And I can hear tears in her voice. The words I spent years desperately wanting to hear are finally being said, but they feel like stones dropping into still water, creating ripples I don't want. Sarah, why are you telling me this now? What do you want from me? I ask, trying to keep my voice steady. I don't want anything, I just needed you to know the truth. I'm miserable in my marriage. I had a baby, thinking it would fix things, but it didn't, and I keep thinking about how different my life would be if I'd chosen you, she continues. This is a nightmare. I've built a good life with Zoe. We're about to have a baby, and Sarah is imploding and trying to drag me into her chaos. I'm sorry you're unhappy, I really am. But I can't be your emotional support for this. I'm married. I'm having a baby with someone I love, and I can't go back to that place where you're the center of my world, I say firmly. I know, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have called. I just miss you. I miss us, she says, crying openly now. Sarah, there was no us. There was you, and there was me, and we wanted different things at different times. That's all it was. We can't build a relationship on what ifs and regrets, I respond. We talk for a few more minutes before I tell her I have to go, and I wish her luck in figuring out her marriage and her life. Hang up feeling shaken, and immediately call Dr. Morrison, leaving an urgent voicemail asking for an emergency session. He calls back within an hour, and we schedule something for the next day. That night I tell Zoe about Sarah's phone call and watch her face carefully for signs of how she's processing this information. She told you she was in love with you and is unhappy in her marriage. Zoe repeats slowly, trying to understand the implications. Yeah, and I told her I couldn't be part of whatever breakdown she's having because I have a life and a family with you, I explain. Zoe is quiet for a long time before saying, I'm not going to pretend that doesn't scare me. The woman you were in love with for years just confessed her feelings. I know and I understand if you need time to process this, or if you're angry, but I promise you I'm not interested in going back to that I chose you, I choose you, I say desperately. She cries and I hold her and we talk through her fears and my own confusion about Sarah's timing and motivations. Emergency therapy session with Dr. Morrison is intense, working through my feelings about Sarah's confession and what it means for my current life. She's having a crisis and reaching out to you because you represent a path not taken, but that doesn't mean you owe her anything or need to question your own choices, he explains. I know logically, but emotionally it's stirring up all this old stuff I thought I'd dealt with, I admit. We talk about boundaries and the importance of protecting my marriage and my family, even if it means completely cutting off contact with Sarah. Decide that I need to block Sarah's number and social media, not out of anger, but out of self-preservation. Tell Zoe my decision, and she seems relieved, saying, I wasn't going to ask you to do that, but I'm glad you're choosing us. Few weeks pass and things start to settle down. Zoe and I go to birthing classes and finalize preparations for the baby. Then one night I'm driving home from work in heavy rain, the kind of storm that makes visibility terrible and roads slick. Thinking about everything Sarah and Zoe and the baby and the life I'm building when a car runs a red light. See it happening in slow motion, the headlights coming straight toward my driver's side, too fast for me to react or swerve. The impact is deafening, metal, crunching glass, shattering my whole world, turning sideways and upside down. Pain everywhere, can't breathe, can't move, can barely think through the fog that's closing in. Hear sirens in the distance, getting closer, people shouting, someone trying to open my car door. Paramedics are saying my name, asking if I can hear them telling me to stay awake, but everything is fading. Think about Zoe, about our unborn daughter, about how I'm supposed to be there for them. Try to say something, try to tell them to call Zoe, but the words won't come out right. They're putting me on a stretcher, loading me into an ambulance. Someone is holding my hand, telling me I'm going to be okay, but I can feel that I'm not okay. Something is very wrong, internal bleeding. The paramedic is saying we need to go now. At the hospital, everything is chaos. Doctors and nurses rushing around, speaking in urgent tones, using medical terms I don't understand. Catch fragments of conversation, extensive internal injuries, multiple fractures, possible brain trauma. We're doing everything we can. Someone asks if there's family they can call, and I manage to whisper Zoe's name and number before the pain becomes too much. They're wheeling me into surgery, and a doctor is explaining something about the risks, but I can't focus on the words. Think about all the time I wasted mourning someone who didn't choose me instead of fully appreciating the person who did. Regret every moment I spent comparing Zoe to Sarah, every time I let the past interfere with my present. Zoe arrives at the hospital, and I can hear her voice in the hallway, demanding to see me, sounding terrified. They let her in for a moment before surgery, and she's crying, holding my hand, telling me I have to fight. I love you so much. Please don't leave me. Please don't leave our baby, she sobs, and I want to promise her I'll be okay, but I can't speak. Squeeze her hand with what little strength I have, trying to communicate everything I'm feeling. They tell her she has to leave now that they need to operate, and she kisses my forehead, whispering, "Come back to me." Going under anesthesia, and my last conscious thought is hoping that I get the chance to be the father and husband I want to be. Surgery takes hours. Zoe told me later that the doctors came out multiple times with updates, each one more grave than the last. Extensive damage to internal organs, multiple blood transfusions, complications they didn't anticipate. Kyle flew in from home and sat with Zoe in the waiting room, both of them holding on to hope that was slipping away. My parents arrived and my mom kept saying I was strong, that I would pull through, but even she didn't sound convinced. 12 hours of surgery, and the doctors finally came out looking exhausted and defeated. We did everything we could, but the damage was too extensive. His body couldn't handle the trauma, the surgeon told my family. Zoe screamed and collapsed, and Kyle had to hold her up while my mother sobbed into my father's chest. They let Zoe come in to say goodbye to my body, still warm, but empty of whatever makes a person themselves. She laid her head on my chest and talked to me, even though I couldn't hear her anymore, telling our unborn daughter about her daddy. He was complicated and sometimes broken, but he loved so deeply, and he chose us in the end. He chose us, she told our daughter through tears. Kyle said later that he'd never seen someone so destroyed by grief, that Zoe looked like she'd aged 10 years in a single night. My funeral was small, just family and close friends gathered to say goodbye to a life that ended too soon. Zoe was 7 months pregnant, standing at my grave in a black dress that didn't fit right anymore because of the baby. Kyle gave a eulogy about friendship and growth, about how I'd fought so hard to become a better version of myself. Anon spent years being haunted by a love that never was, but in the end he found real love and built a real life, and that matters, that counts for something, he said. What he didn't mention was that Sarah showed up at the funeral, standing in the back, looking destroyed by guilt and grief. Zoe saw her and walked over, and everyone held their breath, expecting confrontation or drama. But instead, Zoe just looked at Sarah with these tired, sad eyes and said, "He forgave you. I hope you can forgive yourself." Sarah broke down completely, sobbing apologies that couldn't change anything, couldn't bring me back. They buried me on a Tuesday under gray skies that matched the mood of everyone who came to witness my final chapter. Zoe visits my grave every week, even as her pregnancy progresses, bringing flowers and talking to me about her day. Tells me about baby names she's considering, about how she felt the baby kick, about how much she misses me. 2 months after my death, she goes into labor, and Kyle drives her to the hospital, staying with her through the whole process. She names our daughter Hope because she needs to believe that something good can come from all this tragedy. "Hope has my eyes," Kyle tells her, taking photos to show me even though I'm not there to see them. Zoe raises our daughter alone, but not really alone, because my family and friends rally around her, providing support and love. She tells Hope stories about me when she's old enough to understand, about how I struggled and grew and loved her before she was even born. Shows her photos and videos, trying to make sure Hope knows who her father was, beyond just the tragedy of how he died. Sarah sends a letter to Zoe years later, apologizing for everything, for calling me before the accident, for being selfish with her feelings. I think about him all the time, and I'm haunted by the role I played in his pain. "I hope you and Hope are doing well. I hope he's at peace," the letter says. Zoe never responds, because what is there to say to the woman who loved the same man but differently? Hope grows up knowing she's loved by a mother who chose to keep going even when everything fell apart. Zoe never remarries, telling people that she had her great love, and she's content raising Hope and building a life from the pieces. Sometimes she still thinks about me, wonders what I would say about Hope's accomplishments, what kind of father I would have been. Kyle visits on the anniversary of my death every year, bringing flowers and sitting at my grave, telling me about his life. "You'd be proud of Hope, man. She's got your stubbornness and Zoe's kindness. She's going to be something special," he says to my headstone. Years pass, and my death becomes part of the story of everyone who knew me, a chapter that shaped them but didn't define them. Zoe teaches Hope about loving deeply, even when it's scary, about choosing vulnerability, even when it hurts. "Your father taught me that love isn't about perfection, it's about showing up and trying even when you're scared," she tells her daughter. Hope asks if her dad would have loved her, and Zoe always says, "He loved you before he met you. He was so excited to be your father." My grave gets visited less as time passes, as people move on with their lives, as the grief becomes less sharp. But on certain days, birthdays, anniversaries, the anniversary of the accident, people still come. Zoe brings Hope when she's old enough, and they sit on the grass and tell me about their lives. "I wish you were here," Zoe says every time. "I wish things had been different." But they weren't different. I died in a car accident before I got to meet my daughter, before I got to fully live the life I'd built. Spent so many years chasing a ghost of a person who never really existed that I almost missed the real thing standing right in front of me. Learned too late that love isn't about perfect timing or Hollywood moments. It's about choosing someone every day, even when it's hard. Zoe understood that she chose me every day through all my baggage and trauma, and I hope I chose her enough in the time we had. Hope grows up to study psychology, wanting to understand the complexity of human emotion and relationships. Writes her college admissions essay about a father she never met, who taught her about the importance of mental health through his absence. Zoe cries reading it, realizing that somehow my struggles and my story mattered, that they meant something beyond the tragedy. Hope visits my grave before leaving for college and leaves flowers and a note. Dear Dad, I never got to know you, but Mom made sure I knew your story. Thank you for choosing us even when it was hard. I'll make you proud, I promise. Love, Hope. The note stays weighted down by a rock until rain and time make the ink run, but the sentiment remains. Kyle gets old, thinks about me sometimes, about the friend he lost too soon, about the what-ifs and the unfairness of it all. At his own grandson's christening, he tells stories about me, keeping my memory alive for a new generation. Your great-uncle Anon was complicated, but he taught me that it's okay to struggle as long as you keep trying to be better, he tells the baby, who doesn't understand. Sarah lives with the guilt of that phone call for the rest of her life, wondering if her confession distracted me that night. She eventually divorces, gets therapy, makes peace with her own demons, but never fully forgives herself. Writes in a journal that no one will read, I'm sorry, Anon. I'm sorry I couldn't be brave. I'm sorry I called. I'm sorry for all of it. My parents visit my grave on holidays, talking to me like I can hear them updating me on family news. Hope is doing so well. She looks just like you. She's strong like you were, my mom says, arranging fresh flowers. The story of my life becomes a cautionary tale in Dr. Morrison's practice, anonymized but recognizable, about the danger of unresolved grief. He uses my case to help other patients, to show them that healing is possible but also fragile, that life is uncertain. Zoe eventually writes a book about grief and moving forward, about raising a child alone after losing a spouse. Dedicates it to me for teaching me that love is worth the pain, even when the ending is tragic. The book helps other widows and widowers, makes my death mean something beyond just loss. Hope reads it when she's older, understands her mother better, understands the weight of what was lost. Realizes that I wasn't perfect, that I struggled, that I was just a person trying my best with the tools I had. Accepts that her father was complex, contradictory, sometimes selfish, but ultimately trying to grow. She forgives me for dying, forgives Sarah for complicating things, forgives everyone, because holding anger helps no one. Decades pass and my grave becomes weathered, the letters of my name fading, but still readable. Hope brings her own children to visit their grandfather they never met, tells them simplified versions of my story. He loved your grandma very much, and he wanted to be here to meet all of you. She explains to kids who barely understand death. Zoe gets old, and when she dies decades after me, she's buried next to me, completing our story. Hope stands at both graves with her family and thinks about the parents she had, one she knew and one she didn't. I hope you found each other wherever you are. I hope you're at peace, she says. And maybe we did. Maybe we are. My story ends not with resolution or happy endings, but with the messy, complicated reality of a life lived imperfectly. I never got over Sarah completely, but I built something real with Zoe before my time ran out. That has to count for something, the trying, the choosing, the loving, even when scared. My final thought before the accident, before everything went dark, was of Zoe and hope and the life we were building. Not of Sarah, not of regrets, just of the present moment and the people who chose me back. That feeling when you spend your whole life chasing what you can't have and die just as you're learning to appreciate what you do have.